Deepti Mahajan.
Deepti Mahajan, and she's also doing an online presentation. Please, let's listen to her. And afterwards, I think we might have a question and answer session. So please, if you want to grab your sheets and put some questions down, we'd be more than glad to answer them for you. Thank you.
Namaste, everyone. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to be talking about the forced abductions and conversions in Pakistan. And just food for thought, today as we are having this presentation, 3 more little girls from minority Hindu, Christian, and Sikh communities in Pakistan are abducted and raped. Namaste, everyone, and good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me here. My name is Deepti Mahajan, and I'm the president of Hindu Pact, and I run this project, CHINGARI, that is to raise awareness about the minority girls in Pakistan. Since 1947, the Islamic Republic of Pakistan has committed a slow, relentless, drip genocide of its Hindu, Christian, and Sikh populations. Minority women and girls, particularly Hindus, Christians, Sikh, and Ahmadiyas, face distinctive risk of abduction, forced religious conversions, child and forced marriages, and sexual violence. These harms are not isolated episodes, but recurring and predictable patterns embedded in the legal, social, and institutional design of the state. The problem is not merely that individuals commit abuses, but that state structures like police, judiciary, registrars, and even politicians normalize and ratify these abuses by privileging conversion documents and marriage certificates over evidence of minority status, childhood, or coercion. Pakistan's legal framework historically intertwines religious and civil laws, often lacking protective provisions for minority rights. Forced conversions, primarily targeting minority girls, exploit legal loopholes, weak enforcement, and societal biases. These violations are compounded by limited accountability within local institutions and cultural pressures. This context helps explain the persistence of abuse against those vulnerable groups in Pakistan. Now, to understand the why minority women in Pakistan remain so vulnerable today, we need to look back at how religion and law became intertwined after the partition of Bharat, that is India, and Pakistan. At independence in 1947, Pakistan inherited both communal trauma and a diverse society. Muhammad Ali Jinnah's famous August 11, 1947 speech promised that religion would be a private matter and that all citizens would be equal. Yet, this vision quickly unraveled. Just 2 years later, the Objectives Resolution of 1949 declared that sovereignty belongs to Allah. This shifted the foundation of the new state from secular citizenship to a faith-based one, introducing a permanent tension between equality and Islamic identity. The 1956 constitution formally renamed Pakistan the Islamic Republic, and by 1973, new Islamic oversight bodies like the Council of Islamic Ideology, it ensured that all laws aligned with Islam. In 1974, Parliament went further by declaring the Ahmadiyya community non-Muslim, showing that the state could legally decide who belongs and who does not. The real turning point actually came under General Zia-ul Haq in the 1980s. His Islamization program transformed both law and the culture of the country. The Hudud ordinances of 1979 blurred the line between rape and adultery, and it required 4 male witnesses to the rape, and often it punished victims instead of the offenders. Meanwhile, expanded blasphemy laws, including the death penalty clause, were used to persecute the minorities, Christian, Hindus, Sikhs, and Ahmadiyas, especially women who resisted any kind of forced conversions. Zia-ul Haq also reshaped the education and media to glorify conversion of minority girls as spiritual victories, erasing coercion and reinforcing patriarchy. After Zia, civilian governments tried to reform these laws but faced massive pushback from religious groups. Today's system is a layered legacy, each law and cultural shift reinforcing the last one. Together, they have trained the state institutions to see the forced conversion of minority girls not as a crime, but as a proof of faith. Pakistan's institutions show contradictory behaviors. While courts and police often enable coercion by accepting forged documents and ignoring evidence of abduction, occasional judicial interventions provide some hope. Legislative attempts in Sindh face strong clerical opposition. Police and bureaucracy frequently fail to protect victims or enforcing any kind of laws, and this perpetuates impunity and social exclusion of the minority girls. Pakistan's persecution of minority girls is not accidental at all. It is embedded in the laws and institutions. On paper, the constitution provides a promise of equality and freedom of religion, but in practice, its Islamic clauses create a hierarchy. It guarantees equal rights, yet top offices are reserved for Muslims, and all laws must conform to Islam. This dual system allows officials to treat minority girls and their rights as exceptions and not guarantees. When a Hindu or Christian girl or a Sikh girl is abducted, a cleric's conversion certificate often overrides her age, family, and consent. The blasphemy laws make justice nearly impossible. These vague provisions criminalize alleged insults to Islam, enabling mobs to threaten the families, lawyers, judges, and whoever challenges the coerced conversions. Fear of backlash forces courts and police into silence. Child marriage laws add more contradictions. Sindh, Sindh in Pakistan sets 18 as the legal marriage age, but other provinces allow girls to wed at 16 or even younger under their religious exemptions. Abductors exploit this by moving the victims across provincial borders, while police refuses to file any cases and judges easily accept the forged IDs. Procedural failures make matters worse. Delayed FIRs, ignored medical tests, and unsafe custody of rescued girls. Judges often treat conversion as proof of maturity, legitimizing the child abuse under religious cover. Civil society continues to fight for age verification, safe shelters, and police accountability, but clerical and political resistance blocks any real progress. Ultimately, Pakistan's legal system has created an ecosystem of impunity where constitutional ambiguity, blasphemy fears, and weak child protection it converges to make forced conversions not just exceptions but the norm. Now, real reform demands uniform marriage laws, protection from blasphemy, intimidation, and accountability for police and judges. Only then can justice replace this fear. There are certain patterns, and let's look at the patterns of these forced conversions and abduction of these little girls that has been going on since the inception of Pakistan. Now, what is happening in Pakistan is not random at all. It's a systemic cycle of abuse: abduction, coerced conversion, forced marriage, denial of justice, and complete impunity. It begins with abduction. Hindu, Christian, Sikh, little girls, often between 12 and 17. We have seen cases as low as 7 and 9 years old girls. They are taken by men connected to the feudal or religious networks. Police delays actions, giving abductors time to move victims across states and provinces. And then comes the coerced conversion. Within days, clerics issue fake certifications claiming the girl is 18 and willingly converted. Courts accept these papers over the birth records that are provided by the family, turning abduction into marriage and coercion into consent. Next comes the forced marriage. usually to much, much older men who already have multiple wives. Judges cite puberty as proof of maturity, while victims endure confinement, sexual violence, and total isolation. Returning home can mean being branded as an apostate, a death sentence. In courtrooms, mobs intimidate judges, hearings are rushed, and justice is completely denied. Police, clerics, and abductors go unpunished, while protesting families face blasphemy charges and even eviction from where they are living. Each unpunished case reinforces that the system protects the perpetrators and not the victims. Survivors' voices tell us what the law denies, and this is not faith, but a state enabled pipeline of constant abuse. Until Pakistan enforces accountability and protection laws, this cycle will keep destroying lives and communities. The most profound evidence is that the population in Pakistan since its inception has dwindled down from 23% to 1.6% today. Where did this entire community disappear? This slide is a drop in the ocean of girls that have been taken away from their families. The picture on the bottom right is of a little girl's mutilated body that was just discovered 2 days back. These two cases have been reported in just last 2 days. Heer Bagri is the girl I just mentioned in the previous slide, whose mutilated body was found. She was just 7. Meena Kachi is 9, who was found by her parents in a field, brutally raped and critically injured. And this is from yesterday. International organizations like the UN, EU, and US have condemned forced conversions and urged Pakistan to enact protective legislation. Treaty bodies highlight child marriage, religious freedom violations, on and on. Economic leverages such as the EU's GSP plus status is used to encourage reforms, although geopolitical concerns sometimes limit enforcement. International advocacy raises global awareness and pressurizes Pakistan for accountability. Now, of the crisis of these forced conversions and abductions of minority girls in Pakistan has not remained invisible to the world. Over the past 2 decades, a growing number of international organizations, state actors, and advocacy networks have documented these abuses, condemned them in diplomatic forums, and urged Pakistan to institute reforms. Yet, international responses have been uneven, reflecting broader geopolitical concern, the limits of human rights enforcement, and Pakistan's strategic location based significance. Examining these responses provide crucial insight into both the possibilities and constraints of global advocacy. The world knows about this Pakistan uh, crisis of forced conversion and abduction of minority girls. Yet, global responses remains inconsistent, shaped by politics and security interests of different countries. The UN, US, and EU have all condemned these abuses. And Chingari project has brought survivor testimonies to lawmakers and the United Nations. But despite rising visibility, real accountability is still missing. Pakistan's strategic importance shields it from reform. The task now is to turn global awareness into concrete actions so that minority girls in Pakistan are not just seen, but finally protected. Amid state inaction, Pakistan's civil society, media, and diaspora have become the last line of resistance, documenting abuses, rescuing victims, and keeping survivor voices alive. Groups like HRCP, CSJ, NCHR expose state complicity, journalists risk their lives to reveal truth, and diaspora initiatives like Chingari rally lawmakers and global allies. Despite censorship, threats, limited resources, these advocates connect local struggles to global platforms, turning silence into pressure for change. This courage keeps truth alive, and these voices remain essential to justice for Pakistan's minority girls. Behind every statistics lies there is a figure, a daughter, a child whose story reveals the full horror of Pakistan's forced conversion and marriages of minority girls. It often begins with sudden disappearance, a Hindu or Christian or Sikh girl who never returns home from school or work. Within days, a cleric certificate declares she's 18 and willingly converted, while police refuses to act. Abduction is rebranded as faith. Survivors describe being starved, beaten, and threatened until they repeat Islamic prayers or sign documents they cannot read. Once they utter the word of conversion, coercion becomes the choice. Then comes forced marriages, usually to much older men, sealing captivity into turning, and that turns into rape, into lawful act. Girls who escape are branded apostates. Families who protest face blasphemy charges or exile from their own villages. In courtroom, justice collapses under fear. Survivors must testify before their abductors as mob from outside shout, forcing them into silence. Even freedom brings stigma, isolation, and lifelong trauma. Yet, amid this darkness, some survivors find extraordinary courage, speaking through NGOs and platforms like CHINGARI to demand justice. Their voices expose the truth. This is not faith, it's a systemic violence disguised as religion. Their courage must lead the fight for reform and for the right of every girl to live freely. Now, there are certain avenues for accountability. NGOs can submit shadow reports to different organizations or review boards, ensuring that forced conversions remain on the agenda. States can press Pakistan to adopt specific reforms, linking compliance to aid and trade benefits. Mandate holders, such as the Special Rapporteur on FORB, can issue urgent appeals and communications, generating this visibility to this ongoing crisis. Diaspora groups, in collaboration with global NGOs, can frame coerced conversions as violations, mobilizing broader accountability. US and European Union can tie economic privileges to measurable reforms, creating material incentives for compliance. To conclude, forced conversions in Pakistan reflect a systemic legal, social, and political failures rooted in institutional complicity and socio-cultural norms. Effective reform requires structural changes across the judiciary, legislature, police, and civil society. International leverage combined with survivor centered advocacy offers a pathway to counter impunity. Highlighting survivor voices and sustaining multi level engagements are crucial and essential for protecting minority rights and advancing justice to these little girls and their families in Pakistan. I thank you so much for having me today to talk about this important